Gasly wins the Italian Grand Prix. Oh my, is that just wonderful?
Oh my God! What did you do?
What did you do?
You do it! You did it! Oh my God! Oh my God, guys, we did it again! Oh my God, yes!
Well, I'm sure after that, Christian Horner was about as happy as the F1 Twitter community when Lando Norris does as much as open his mouth. Hey there guys, and welcome to FP1, where today, if you can't tell already, I want to talk about Pierre Gasly. The Frenchman will begin his fourth full season in Formula 1 with ALFA TAURI this weekend. In a career that's been up and down so many times, I'm surprised he's not gone full Mark Webber yet.
It's a retirement. Vomiting, going out, vomiting, I gotta drive.
Now, Pierre is a driver I've spoken about before. In fact, it was the first ever video on this channel, and one that aged about as well as a David Dobrik apology video. Nevertheless, I want to take today to spend some time going over this young man's career, and looking at the next steps in his Formula 1 journey. Before we get into that though, if you are new here and like what you see, please do consider subscribing to the channel and sharing this video around, as it really helps this community grow bigger and bigger. You guys picked this video over on Twitter as well, so if you want to get involved in this sort of thing in the future, make sure you follow me over there. It's at FP1Will, and all links for that can be found down in the description below. Anyway, let's hop straight into things and discuss what's next for Pierre Gasly. Let us start then how we usually do, and that's by going through Pierre's career to date. Gasly was born in France on the 7th of February 1996. As is the case with basically all F1 drivers, found himself in a go-kart at an early age. However, he didn't actually win anything. Pierre would finish third in the French KF3 Championship, Grand Prix Open Championship, Super Nationals Championship, and the FIA World Carpool in 2009. Though a series win would elude him, Gasly was still able to beat the likes of Carlos Sainz Jr., Nick de Vries, and Daniel Kvyat in these categories. 2010 would mark the start of competitive kart racing for Gasly, though he would still be able to muster a series win, taking home a P2 and P3 finish in the KF3 European Championship and the Monaco Kart Cups, respectively. Despite this, the young Frenchman made the step up to single-seaters for the 2011 season, finishing third with 4 wins in his first attempt at French F4. Now, okay, the level of talent in the series was... well, I'll be honest, I don't recognise any of these names, but regardless, it's not too bad for your first attempt, let's be honest here. 2012 would prove less fruitful for Gasly, as he made the step up to Formula Renault. 3 podiums would be the best that Pierre could manage. But hey, that's still better than his 2019 run with Red Bull, right?
Fuck! It turned fucking hell.
Sorry, I'll stop. Gasly would make a much better impression in 2013, sticking with Formula Renault and finally winning his first series, with 3 wins, 8 podiums and 2 fastest laps. And this time it was a competitive field as well, including the likes of Gasly's best mate Esteban Ocon, Luca Giotto and Alexander Albon. This run of form was what pricked up the ears of the boffins at Red Bull, signing Pierre on for the 2014 season. Here, Gasly would dabble with a few races in that year's GP2 championship, with little success. However, a full attempt at the Formula Renault 3.5 series would yield better results, with Gasly ending the campaign second in the championship, only behind fellow Red Bull slave Carlos Sainz. While Sainz was selected to be Max Verstappen's plaything at Toro Rosso for 2015, Gasly had to sit on the sidelines for the time being, contesting the full GP2 season while balancing that with test driver duties for Red Bull. This year was nothing to boast about, however, as despite being with a competitive Dams team, Gasly would only manage 8th in the standings, and when you're being beaten by Rafael Marcello and Rio Haryanto, who I might add was in a Campos, well, it ain't saying much, is it? Gasly wouldn't let this beat him down, however, and a switch to Prema for the 2016 GP2 season would prove much more fruitful. The Frenchman would narrowly edge out teammate Jesus to win the championship, taking 4 wins and 9 podiums over the year. And while usually a win at the top level of Junior Series would warrant a step up into Formula 1, well, unless your name is Nick de Vries, Gasly would have to wait a little bit longer for his shot. Red Bull decided to place Gasly in Super Formula for the 2017 season. In another strong showing, Gasly was proving to be a strong title contender, alongside Hiroki Ishiura and Felix Rosenqvist. However, in the Formula 1 world, times were changing a little bit. Daniel Kvyat was doing what 2017 Danny Kvyat did best, that being continuing his quest to find new ways to make contact with barriers and other cars. This, rather understandably, made the guys over at Red Bull a little bit angry, and combined with Pierre's good form, led to the Frenchman getting his first opportunity with the squad alongside old rival Sainz for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Gasly would impress out of the gates, beating his more experienced teammate in Q1 and narrowly missing out on his time in the second part of qualifying. Come the race, in typical 2017 Renault engine style, Sainz's power unit would throw out the white flag, while Gasly worked himself up to P14 by the checkered flag. Pierre would stay out the season with that team, with the exception of the American round as he returned to Super Formula in an attempt to win the championship. Sadly, this wasn't meant to be, and Pierre would end the season second, just half a point behind eventual winner Ishihara. Back to Formula 1 though, and Gasly's short stint at the end of 2017 was enough for him to gain a full-time drive with Toro Rosso for the following year. As Carlos Sainz moved to Renault to become Cyril's bitch for a year, Gasly would find himself alongside hair enthusiast Brendan Hartley. Brendan was an established driver at this point, winning Le Mans in 2015 and 2017, while also claiming the latter year's WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. As a result, you'd have expected the Kiwi to be quite the fierce competitor to Gasly over 2018. Yeah, well, he turned out to be quite the opposite. Now, in fairness to the Kiwi, a lot of these incidents were down to poor luck, but combine that with a stellar season from teammate Gasly, and the writing was on the wall for Hartley. Speaking of that stellar season, let's get back to the Frenchman, given that, well, you know, this video is about him. Gasly started the season off with a bang, finishing P4 in the second race of the season in Bahrain, and following that up with a strong series of top 10 finishes over the course of the year. And when Daniel Ricciardo decided to move to Renault to become Cyril's bitch, a door opened up at the top team for Pierre to step up. Now, was this too early in his career to move up to one of the top teams on the grid? Well, most likely. But Red Bull obviously know best and have never made that mistake before. Gasly's 2019 struggles are well documented, as he struggled to adapt to the Verstappen-friendly RB15 and found himself well off the pace in comparison to his more experienced teammate. By the midpoint of the season, fellow Red Bull reject Danny Kvyat had picked up a shock podium at the chaotic German Grand Prix, while Gasly was miles off the pace and giving the German crowd 3 pieces of a Red Bull F1 car to take home. Come the summer break, and Red Bull had had enough, replacing Gasly with rookie Alexander Albon for the remainder of the season. And we all know how that went. This demotion back to Toro Rosso gave Gasly what seemed to be a new lease of life, as he performed from the outset in the second half of the year, eventually resulting in a second place finish at the Brazilian Grand Prix. And from there, Pierre didn't take his foot off of the gas, continuing his strong performances into 2020 with the rebranded ALFA TAURI outfit. Here, Gasly's consistency would continue, finishing in the points 10 out of the 17 races that year, and as we all know, taking that sensational win at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza. And that brings us up to present day, where Gasly is at a massive crossroads in his Formula 1 career. You see, despite that incredible win and the plethora of fantastic results that went with it in 2020, Pierre was not considered for a switch back to the main Red Bull outfit, despite Alex Albon putting on the performances of a soggy piece of toilet roll. Now in the end, it was Sergio Perez that got the call up to the Milton Keynes-based team, and I'm not saying that was a bad call whatsoever. However, it's now apparent that no matter what Pierre does, there's no way he's going to get back alongside Max Verstappen, and really this shouldn't be much of a surprise. Just go back to Gasly's demotion midway through 2019. As I've already mentioned, Kvyat had got a podium just a few races before the switch, and going into the break was more consistent and had more points than Alexander Albon. Problem is, Kvyat had been dropped by Red Bull before, to make way for the next coming of Christ over here, and despite that demotion being incredibly harsh and not necessarily about performance, Red Bull taking back either Kvyat or Gasly would look like they were backtracking, admitting their previous mistakes. And from a PR perspective, that would have gone down like eating a bowl of your own shit. So what I'm trying to get at here is that Gasly's future does definitely not lie with Red Bull, and therefore is it really worth continuing to stay with the junior team? Yuki Tsunoda's pace over the junior formulas as well as the pre-season testing has shown that he's possibly the next Red Bull lapdog, and with the likes of Yuri Vips and Liam Lawson quickly rising through the ranks, it just begs the question, what are Red Bull's plans with Pierre Gasly? For me, the most likely fit for him in 2022 will be with the newly rebranded Alpine outfit. There have already been rumours circulating about this since the midpoint of last year, and frankly, it makes a lot of sense. Esteban Ocon is on the last year of his contract, and despite some good performances on the back end of 2020, he ended up spending most of the year looking about as strong as... We know enough of the comparisons, it basically looked like this. Anyway, the main thing keeping Ocon in that Alpine seat is him being French, and the advantages of that from a marketing perspective. As a result, if a better French driver was on the market, and one who was incredibly popular amongst the fans as well, then really it would be a no-brainer for Alpine to step in and make that switch. Heading into a new batch of technical regulations for 2022 means there's a real possibility that Alpine could find something else over their rivals, and thus make a huge jump up the grid. If Pierre were to stay with ALFA TAURI, however, then you'd expect them to be forced behind Red Bull, limiting the possibilities of fighting for wins and championships. So Alpine for me is Gasly's most likely destination for 2022. However, I do want to throw one more bold name into the mix, and that name is Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton is only on a 1-year contract, and frankly, it's very much up in the air as to whether he'll continue in Formula 1 beyond this season. And then you've got Valtteri Bottas, who is not a slow driver, but when it comes to fighting for world championships, it's a bit like fighting a forest fire with a paper bag. And so what if we end up with both Mercedes seats being up for grabs in 2022? You'd expect the first one to go to George Russell, for obvious reasons, but then who would you place in the second seat? For me, Pierre Gasly is the best fit, as perhaps an interim option until the likes of Frederick Vesti, Merck's latest recruit, is up to speed in Formula 1. And when I say interim option, that sounds like a bad thing, but really it isn't. It would give Gasly a chance to really prove himself in a team that's less orientated around just one driver. Well, less than Red Bull anyway. Also, who wouldn't want to see a Gasly-Russell partnership coming into 2022? That for me has a lot of potential. But those then are my thoughts around Pierre Gasly and what the future may hold for the French driver. Let me know what you think and where you think he'll end up in the merry-go-round of driver contracts in 2021 down in the comments below this video. And if you did enjoy and it's your first time here, please do click on that big red subscribe button and join the community. We're getting closer and closer to that 20k subscriber goal I set myself for the end of the year. And it's only March, so a massive thank you for all of that. As I said at the start, you can also drop me a follow over on Twitter. And if you want to interact with me even more, then you can go and join the Discord community as well. All links for that can be found down in the description below. Anyway, that's all from me today. I will see you all with a brand new video very soon. But until then, have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next one.